Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bucs UK TV. It's episode 87. I hope you had a happy Yuletide or whatever festival you're celebrating. David and Tim are the only members of Bucs UK not on the stomach pump due to turkey overdose. Did you both have good Christmases, gentlemen?
We did, thank you, Kieron. Merry Christmas,
great.
everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Great, thanks. Merry Christmas, everyone.
And it was indeed a Merry Christmas. As the Bucs put on social media, they gave us all a gift in the form of a win against the Cardinals. In overtime, they made it tight, and at times it was hard work. David, I mean, watching the game, ups and downs, fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly the same formula we've had for most of the season. A reasonable, good opening drive, but just get 3 points. Nothing from offence for 3 quarters, and then just sneak in there at the end. And again, the defence has done pretty much what the defence has done all season. They've sort of held it to reasonable points and just kept us in it. Yeah, I think we could almost play these podcasts the same run for the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Insert name of opponent here.
Yeah, thankfully this time we got it done though, which was a desperate need, particularly after the Carolina performance the night before.
Tim, was it hard viewing for you?
It was painful on time, should I say. On this podcast last week, I confidently predicted a coming out party for our offense. And for best part of 3 quarters, I was sat there thinking, I don't know what I'm talking about looking at this game. We looked the same Bucs offense as we have done all season. It was quite depressing, and yet again, and I know quite a few of us have been to various games, watched the Bucs for years, we struggle against a 3rd string quarterback yet again. But as Dave quite rightly said, we pulled it out in the end, which, going by the Carolina win, it's a must. We're in a must-win situation now on Sunday, so it's going to be great for the fans of the Bucs UK.
It is indeed. We'll come on to talk about Cardinals and sorry, not Cardinals. We'll come on to talk about Panthers, Carolina, and potentially playoffs. But I guess let's stick with the Cardinals for now, because I think looking at the stats, it was quite a close game, and I guess that makes sense in terms of it going to overtime. But I mean, let's start talking about the offense, David. The Bucs seem to be okay moving the ball until suddenly they hit the red zone.
Yeah, and it's just been a problem all season, red zone offense, hasn't it? And we've just struggled. And again, we seem to get in our position. We just can't convert. Well, 2nd and 1s, 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s, can we?
That last yard does seem to be eluding us. Yes.
Yeah, it's just killing us all the time. And then when we do get in the red zone, I don't know what the play calling is, but I think we said it again last week. Everything seems to be compact, tight in the middle. We don't provide any width. We start earlier in the season with Mike Evans catching, touchdowns in the red zone in the corners. We're not even looking there now. And was it week 4 since Evans last got a touchdown? We just, without, I suppose, the Gronk big tight end in the middle, we look lost at red zone.
Agreed. And I think, Tim, a lot's been said this week on our Bucs UK forum. We know that Graham Reed has said it all starts with the line, it all ends with the line, and I guess that makes sense on the 3rd and 1s. But I mean, what do you think? Is that the reason? What's behind all of this?
The game is always won in the trenches, no matter what sport you play. And if you've got a dominant offensive or defensive line, you tend to win the game. We pass block okay. We cannot run. We do not seem to get off the ball at all with any sort of drive going forward. The first position our guards are is in an upright position, even when they're run blocking. You cannot run block from a totally upright position and hope to knock these guys over. They're too good no matter what team they're on. Our problems start on offensive line. The
Bucs seemed really dogmatically committed to establishing the run game, and I guess we understand why. We know we want to get time for Tom to pass the ball. We know we need to establish the run. But when you say, as you said, Dave, when you can't convert 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 reliably, and you can't get any push on the line, and they're standing up like you're saying, Tim, it's going to be a long game. I mean, we've heard, I think some of the Bucs press conferences during the week did highlight the sort of the need to adjust to the players that are on the field. And I think that was code for, third string person on the line, third string person on the line, second string person on the line. I mean, we know it's been well documented that really only it's Donovan Smith is really only the person playing in the position we thought they'd be playing at the beginning of the season. But is there anything that you would like to see the Bucs doing instead of just run, run, run?
Well, I think it's changing the point of attack on the run game.
Mm,
I mean, too often, certainly the first half particularly, it was running straight everything down Watt's throat in the middle. He was either getting through and getting to us, or they were just snuffing us. And it was really only when we started moving the ball to the edges a bit more that we got some movement and some yardage downfield. And it was so obvious just sitting there watching it. You can't just run it straight forward up the gut. You had to stretch him. You had to hit different parts of the line or either side of the line. You couldn't keep doing it the same thing time and time again. Whether that was the formula that they wrote to actually, drive it in there and then to break free later, but it seemed that we needed to do it so much earlier in the game. And actually, Lenny, he had the biggest running play we've had all season, didn't he? So when we started spreading out a little bit, we started making some progress. But again, I think you say every week, our play calling, we could almost read the plays from where we are before they're made. So, yeah, it's just frustrating at times.
The bit I don't like about our play calling is we always adopt the philosophy, of run to set up the pass. There are lots of teams do it another way, which is they pass to set up the run. As soon as you start to create any space, the run game will start to appear. You throw some passes downfield, those linebackers start to inch back a yard or two, the spaces start to arrive. We are hell bent on, no, we'll run the ball no matter what. Down, I believe, to what I said earlier, I think it's the confidence in our offensive line to hold up long enough. But we threw a couple of play action passes last week, the most we've done probably most of the season. We started the game with it this week from what I can remember. And that looked good. We came to it at the end of the game. It was a big play action to Russell Gage at the end of the game. That's what we don't vary the game enough. As David said, we could all call the plays for our offense. So if we can call it, what can these intelligent defensive coordinators do against this Bucs offense every week? And that's why Brady looks frustrated.
He did look frustrated. He looked frustrated, but worryingly not angry.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that we're talking about it and how we can read the plays, that we are most effective on offense when we're in hurry-up offense? And perhaps putting the play calling more in Brady's hands than it's on the sideline. And, he seems to sort of be able to dial up in those last 2 minutes regularly. We've done it consistently this season. And we met with, as said before, and it's been challenged with Todd Bowles and Leftwich the last 4 or 5 weeks about hurry up offense seems to work, yet we don't use it enough during games.
We only seem to use it at the end of the games. We very rarely run quick plays. I watched Green Bay against Miami. Aaron Rodgers catching them with too many players on the field. We always seem to be lethargic with everything that we do before that ball is snapped. It's all very structured. We cannot improvise at all, it seems.
But do you think
Brady, you would think it would happen with Brady? He's been around long enough. Why hasn't Leftwich and Ball's got the trust in him? Just let him run it.
Do you think that's inherent of the fact that we haven't had a regular O-line, so it's new people coming in and out all the time, and so perhaps they haven't got that chemistry to play that?
Possibly, but if we talked to Gio Bernard and not running the fake punt last week. They practice these things regularly. Even with second and third team on the scout team, they practice hurry up offense. They know what to do. They've been playing this game for years. Just because I haven't played rugby for 30 years, I still know what to do when I go out there. It just frustrates. It's a frustrating offense to watch.
And I think those frustrations are creeping into the players. I mean, we saw Mike Evans being targeted, a silly number of times. It was, he was targeted, 8 times, but only 3 catches. So I think Mike Evans is getting frustrated. I think there was some times where Julio Jones was probably thought he was open and maybe didn't get the ball. I think Tom Brady seems to be like he's forcing the ball. I think we saw 2 picks. You could argue that earlier in the season he was lucky to not have a few more interceptions, but it feels like it's hard because that hurry up offense is more about ad-libbing and more about trying to be on the same page, which you'd hope this point in the season they would be. But my worry is the hurry up is where we may end up making mistakes. And the last thing you want is 3 and out or a short drive that doesn't give the D much time to recover, and then they're back on the field again.
But a bit of unpredictability, can change a game. Yeah, if we're turning the ball over, or we're 3 and out and getting our defense back on the field quickly anyway. So why not change it up?
I mean, the 2 touchdowns were both towards Mike Evans, and clearly the timing wasn't there. I mean, Brady should have released the ball on both of those plays a lot earlier.
Yeah. It's a tough watch for our offense. I wouldn't say it doesn't need to be. I'm a bit worried now who's going to play tackle coming up now on Sunday with potentially, well, we know Josh Wells is now gone. Tristan Wirfs' report isn't brilliant at the moment. So, who knows who we could have out there.
Well, as long as it's Lenny, because obviously Lenny was 70 yards on the ground, 90 yards in the air. It was the Leonard Fournette show. And I think some of those things were those sort of dump-off passes and those off-tackle runs that we've seen earlier in the year that didn't work. I think, to me, that highlighted how much the Cardinals are not a good team. And actually, the fact we managed to do some of the things like those quick screens out to Chris Godwin, caught a couple, didn't he? Where he managed to pick up the first down, having, it was a 1-yard pass, but picked up 9 yards after the catch. I don't think we can rely, as we've seen earlier in the year, we can't rely on those plays getting us those yards against good teams. Having said that, we've got the Panthers and the Falcons to go.
Yeah, I mean, with the Cardinals, their defense is pretty one-dimensional, and it's to rush up the middle through if you can get screen passes now over the top, you sort of take them out of the game and that. But yeah, against other defenses that've got far more weapons, then it's going to be tough.
I'm actually enjoying watching our running backs when they're in space. Rashad White, we know has got more legs than Lenny under him, obviously a little bit younger, but can run in space. Fournette, once you get him in space, runs really well with power as well. But we're not the easiest runs to make are the ones in space.
I think Rashad White's been a real highlight of the year, actually, for me. I've really enjoyed seeing him emerge in a way that I'd hoped maybe Keyshawn Vaughn would have done in years past. It's a good complementary back.
I think you're a good one too. Whether we keep them both next season will be keep Fournette next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fournette's under contract for a little bit longer, isn't he? So
yeah, but it's salary cap issues we're going to start to hit next season, and some of these high-priced guys might be a call in for them.
Okay, let's move on to the other side of the ball then, onto the defensive side. The fact that we made it to overtime, I think, is testament to a good sort of bend but don't break philosophy. It felt like actually we kind of had their number by and large.
Yeah, I think that's really how the defense has played all season. They've kept teams down to reasonable numbers all season. I think my biggest worry is going to be like the week before, when actually they are just on the field so long that they just get worn out. Having the secondary back has been huge for us. Then it's freed up the linebackers more, and I think we saw that from Devin White and David this week. They came back in. I think they showed more in the last 2 weeks than they have for half a season. Actually, they look back to what their normal role should be, rather than covering the secondary.
Yeah, the D-line I think played quite well, didn't they, Tim?
They did. They're not spectacular.
No, fair point. Yeah.
I will give a shout out to Hakeem Hicks. Has played really well without Vita Vea yesterday. was it yesterday, Sunday? Sorry, I can't remember what day of the
Yes.
week it is now. Christmas for you. And Nunes Roches stepped up yet again. You know, that guy is quite undervalued, I think, in terms of press coverage and what, you know, I mean, the national press out there, not, and what he brings to the team. I'm still a bit worried about Tryon. I'm still not seeing enough out of him yet. You know, for a first round pass rusher, not a massive amount coming from him at this moment. Anthony Nelson, much underrated again, is a solid player, but will never be a star in this league, particularly.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, so again, looking at the stat sheet, 1 assist only compared to, you know, 10 combo tackles from Levante and 9 from Devin, but he did get 3 QB hurries.
yeah, he rushes quickly with one move, which is a speed move outside. Once they take that away from him, you'll see a lot of him 5-6 yards behind the quarterback.
So over pursuing.
Yeah. Now he will be good in space again. He is good in pursuit. He is fast, but he just commits himself too much too early, I think. Maybe because he hasn't got the power to go inside. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if a quarterback stays in the pocket, he struggles. But if a quarterback starts to run and move out of the hashes, then I think actually he can make plays.
But as to say with Devin White, then they've got one thing that both of them have got is really good wheels under them, and they can pursue well. But both of them can also over pursue.
And I guess with obviously Shaq Barrett gone, no JPP anymore, it's quite obvious, I think. But there are exceptions, but generally it's quite obvious where the blitz is coming from, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We show it 10 minutes before it happens.
Yeah.
To be honest. But there's one player I will pick out this week who's had a bit of a slating from us and from the press, is Sean Murphy-Bunting, who actually I thought had his best game of the season. Now, whether he's now fully fit and all that sort of thing, he looked really good, really good. We miss Jamal Dean. As much as they played well, if Murphy-Bunting takes confidence from that and Jamal Dean comes back, it's a better back line again.
Yeah, I think Murphy-Bunting, you're right. The secondary as a whole, on a different day, one pace slower, that would have been a field full of pass interference flags, wouldn't it? But actually what they had was some really well-timed, broken up passes, it seemed like.
Absolutely. Yeah, they played really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, to actually see competing, not super soft, was a nice change. I mean, the ball was up there to play, and they were competing with the catches all the time.
But we've done that a little bit more over the last couple of weeks. We've actually played on the ball, whereas earlier on, and a lot of teams are playing really soft. Now we'll give up 6 yards in the hope we don't give up 10.
Yeah. I think that's right. And then, so lastly, the most important third of the game, the special teams. We've got to start talking about. Someone decided this week in the Arizona Cardinal special team meeting room they were going to show us how to do a fake punt, weren't they? And you know, I wish I was on the phone because I was screaming at that point. Watch for the fake! Watch for the fake! I thought they were going to do a short snap, but they in the end they had the punter pass it, and it all looked quite smooth, didn't it, Tim?
That looked like everybody knew what the call was and what was going to happen, which was the total opposite to what we did last week. It was done. Was it obvious? Yeah, pretty much. They had nothing to lose. You've got to expect something like that. But hey, we defended well. Apart from that, we actually defended our fake punt reasonably well in the end.
Yeah.
You know, we reacted quickly, got him down within a few yards of him actually catching the ball. All right, he'd already made the first down, but we reacted well. But that's everybody being on the same page. And that comes down to coaching and players listening to coaches.
Yeah, tuning in.
I mean, I was just add to that. I was really hoping the following drive was the drive where we went, can make 2 and 1, 3 and 1 and 4 man. I would have loved to see us do one straight back at them on that 4th down. I don't think they would have been up for that.
I'd almost expected a sort of an onside kick at some point in the game, but I think the score was a little bit too close still. But talking of kicks, I mean, Suckup, we've got to give Suckup his due. You know, 19 points all but 6 of those were suck up. So he did well, didn't he, David?
Yeah, absolutely. He's on the money inside of 50 yards, isn't he? He's had a couple of misses, but he's the most reliable kicker we've had for a while.
I mean, Matt Prater had a 53 and a 56, and you're right. We need to be careful. Suckup's never going to hit a long ranger because he's just going to use too much leg and lose the aim, as we've seen. But his money inside of that.
Yeah, we've seen that with him in his whole Bucs career. And, we tried a really long field goal last week, which I said to my wife, he'll miss this, and he'll miss this comfortably because it was too far. We know he cannot kick more than, 50 is his tops. And why we just don't play, if that's all we've got, and we want to keep him as a kicker, you play to that. You don't play to a 55-yard kick in the hope he can actually make it when you know it's 5 yards too far.
Yeah.
And again, special teams. The special teams coach should know that.
And of course, that's why we have Jake Kamada doing the kickoffs. 5 touchbacks. So I think again, there's been some mumbles on the forum in the last few weeks about kickoffs getting shorter. I don't know if that was by design. I don't know if Kamada had a twinge in his leg, but we had 5 touchbacks yesterday, and it felt like everything that we wanted to put in the end zone went into the end zone.
Yeah, I think special teams took a bit more of a safer route this week. I think when we saw the punt reception from Tompkins last week when he ran around and lost yards, I think everyone has said, just calm down, let's just do the basics right. Let's just kick it in the end zone for touchbacks. Again, there was one punt return, wasn't there? And Kamada got jumped over. He's normally our best tackler, but again, we always seem to let one return get up to the 50. It's just frustrating that, we can't close out totally on special teams.
It's hard because that's almost giving them 3 points as a minimum, isn't it, when you let someone come that far back?
Yeah, particularly with a punter like Prater.
Yeah, it is, but that's all down to coverage. We're not covering these kicks properly. We're getting caught out. Again, nobody would give them Tompkins any time. So as soon as the ball comes down, the guy's sat there in his face on our returns. Never seemed to happen on theirs.
Yeah, there were a couple of times where the 2 gunners, one of them just got completely blocked onto their back, off their feet, onto the ground. I do want to give a shout out to, I'm going to say it wrong, Zyler McCullum, because I think he made an excellent solo tackle in space that I was sort of fist pumping around the sofa and getting quite excited about. That was good.
I actually like that because that was a proper tackle. Eyes up, arms, driving, proper tackle. I always love watching that. And that's one of the things I hate about the way American football is in general tackle.
Yeah, they lead with the shoulder and, like you say, you knock them backwards. If they don't fall over, they keep going.
Yeah, you still lead with the shoulder, but you just wrap up.
Yeah, 100%.
Apart from Levante, David, we are not a great tackling team in the front 7.
So it feels like we're onto our Magic Wand segment, and I guess in the past few seasons we've been lucky that we've only had to wave it once. But you only have one wave, I'm afraid. The Christmas Fairy has given you but one spell to cast. So we know there are several areas to focus on, but which area? We'll start with you, Dave. Which area do you think, David, we need to give that the most priority to?
We've still got to start connecting with passes. We've got to get some offensive momentum throughout the game, not just our first and last possessions. Okay, so what do you think? Short passes, slants? We didn't see many slants until almost the fourth quarter against the Cardinals, and of course it worked massively when we did it. But the first run he tried, he nearly got picked, didn't he? So, probably put him off. Yeah, I mean, it's a total mixture. Like we say, we're too predictable at the minute. It needs to be mixing it up with the run game, slants, a few deep threats. Whether Tom's got the arm or not now, I don't know. It was just looking worrying when he did go deep. Then he was definitely struggling to make it there with a couple of passes. But we've just got to start connecting. We've got to have 4 quarters of offense. Tim?
I'll give mine to the physio's room. In the hope that the physios, some people will laugh at this now, but we need Donovan Smith back. Yeah. We do, I know he can be very, very frustrated. But tell me, do you want Brandon Walton out there again, or would you want Donovan Smith? The other option, obviously, you've got to get Tristan Wirfs in. I hope that ankle isn't as bad. He didn't look good toward the end of the game. He was really struggling. So I would be working the physios overtime this week.
Yeah, it was a worrying, wasn't it, to see Wirfs have the performance that he had and the condition that he had. Like you say, there's some names there that you're not going to see many fans wearing on the back of their jerseys on the O-line, knocking around the stadium.
No.
Cool. Well, I think I will use my wand again on the offensive side of the ball, but I'll come back to something you were saying, Tim, about diversity in the run game. I think there are a couple of plays where we did a sort of pitch or an outside run, and it looked really effective. And both Fournette and White had this thing where normally both they want to hit the hole, they want to go where they want to go, and they want to go at speed, but they just took a step to just follow behind a guard or a tackle, just wait and see how the play played out, and then find the gap. And that normally got us 5 or 6 yards instead of what would have been 2 or 3. So I think something about that sort of spread pitch game, although you've got to be careful because we saw what the Cardinals did when on that fumble where if you pitch the ball, it's never guaranteed. But given that we also struggled to hand off the ball after the week before last, nothing's a given. So I'm going to stick with what you said, Tim, I think, and the outside run game. Cool. Well, there you have it. Obviously, let us know your thoughts while you're in the middle of pressing like, subscribe, the bell, all of that stuff. As ever, we offer our thanks to Bucs Report for their help in supporting and promoting the podcast. And then we'll come on now to talk about the penultimate game of the regular season. Of course, we're hoping it's not the last game of the season. The Carolina Panthers are coming to Raymond James. Thank goodness it's at 6 p.m. It's New Year's Day for us. So, I mean, there's going to be a few people knocking around with hangovers, I'd imagine. There's going to be more waters sold than Bud Lights, I would have thought. But it's shaping up to be quite an important game. I mean, it would have been even more important if we hadn't beaten the Cardinals. Tim, kind of what sort of things are you thinking about when it comes to the Panthers?
The one thing I'm thinking is they're surprising over the last few weeks. Since Steve Wilkes has taken over, and dare I say it, Sam Darnold has given them some stability, but their running game is the bit we've got to stop. Deonta Foreman, Chuba Hubbard have looked really good over the last few weeks. Now, the key bit is, they run inside against Detroit like nobody was there. And I mean nobody. Now, Hicks, Nunez, Roaches, possibly Vea, depending on how fit he might be, and a bit more stout than Detroit in the middle. So that will take away part of that game. And then it's down to the linebackers then to cut them down with this speed of David and White. I don't fear Donald. Don't really fear their passing game. It's just, can we just stop, make them one-dimensional and force Donald to try and beat you?
David, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone saw what they did to the Lions through the running game, and I suppose that's what everyone's expecting them to focus on. Like I say, but I think we're in a different position to Detroit. We definitely have the ability to stop the run both up front and if they do break through, sort of the linebacking core as well, and the secondary coming up. So what we've got to do is allow them to get that developed early. We've got to get them to start thinking about the passing game more and put it all on Donald.
I think it's interesting you say that, obviously. So let's just go through some of the stats. So as people will sure will know, 320 yards on the ground at an average of 7.4 yards a carry. I mean, Bucs could only, we don't even get 1.4 yards a carry sometimes. The fact that you run the ball twice and it's a first down, and that's exactly what they did against the Lions. But I think that the passing game, I think we possibly underrate. I mean, some of it you could say, if you're running with that level of effectiveness, of course it's going to open up the passing game. But Sam Darnold completed 15 of 22, but those 15 passes went for 250 yards. So we had long passes of 47, 43, 36. There were some big booming passes. And I worry that if we start to commit, 8 in the box, we've seen all season long. We've got, we've got defenders that can run with the best of them. But when you're one-on-one against, Moore or Marshall or some of those players, they're not. I don't think they're a team that does their record justice. I think they're better than their record.
They play well. DJ
Mm.
Moore is
Mm.
one of the top
Mm.
6-7 receivers in the league, and probably the most underrated of the lot, actually. He carries that passing game week in, week out. He's a real quality player. But again, you just take him out of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it feels reminiscent of the Rams game towards the end of the last season, where we knew it was going to be Cooper Kupp, and it was still Cooper Kupp. And we've got to find a way of making sure it's not DJ Moore.
Yeah, I think actually one of the biggest things for our defense is our offense. Our offense has got to do enough, not necessarily just to score, but to spend time on the field so our defense doesn't get tired.
That's a really good point.
They've actually got to have a lot of time, sort of breathing time in between series. It's no good three and outs and they're back on the field and they're back on the field and they're back on the field, because they will get exhausted. They'll get blown out and beaten up then. Our offense has got to take some of that pressure off them just on time on the field.
I agree, Dave. It would be interesting, though, and I don't know the number of how many 5-minute plus drives you've had in the last 4 or 5 games. It's not that many. And as Dave said, the defense will be shattered coming back on. Physically and mentally, geez, we're 3 and out again, or we're back on straight away. It will take its toll.
Yeah. I mean, the Bucs had the share of the time of possession, but I think that was more, the chip, the running game. Even though we weren't necessarily getting big chunk plays, that's obviously was taking time off the clock. So it feels like that could be the Bucs game plan. That's something, they haven't got the ball, they can't win. But it feels like we probably, that does mean, that would imply though that we need the running game to work. But at the same time, we say it doesn't work. You need to pass to set up the run.
Yeah, they've got a good front four mind. The likes of Brian Burns, Derek Brown. They're a decent setup up front. So it's not going to be easy to run on these guys either. So a bit of play action. You never know. It's Christmas.
It'll be New Year's. That's it. Someone, New Year, new Bucs.
Offense, we could be in bed.
We'll start 2023 as we mean to go on, with some flea flickers and a fake punt that works.
Well, that would impress the judge if that came out.
Yeah. So I guess that's we talked about stopping them. We talked about what we're going to need to do. But as if you're Todd, what's your what are you going to say to the team? How are you going to G them up for this game? Because it looks like we're on track for the playoffs, but nothing's a given at this point, is it?
I think if we're relying on Todd to G them up, I think we're wasting our time there. I think it's up to the players and the veteran players to get in there and get everyone up. Everyone knows it's all on this game now. And, I think that it's up for them to actually just come out and play, and I think they will.
I would like to be Tom Brady and just walk around to Rube and say, do your job. That's all they need to do. Do your job. And if Brady stays at him with his 7 Super Bowl rings on, you know what you've got to do. They know what it is. It's all or nothing really. Because if they lose on Sunday, I think the Panthers will beat the Saints in the last game.
And I guess it's a really good point, because in 2 weeks' time, it's a new season. The playoffs starts afresh. If we can get to the playoffs, that's sudden death. It's whatever you've done to that point's forgotten.
And we'll have a home playoff game if we get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably Dallas the way it's looking. So, cause I can't see them catching Philadelphia. So let's try not to look too far ahead yet.
Yeah.
We'll do that next week.
Well, we will. And if you're a Bucs UK member watching this, then we will be having a Zoom chat before the game. So try and join us for that. We'll have details in the members' emails, details on the forum. Isn't that right, David?
That's right. Yeah. It'll be 2 p.m. on New Year's Day. So Zoom chat where we all get together for a bit of a pre-chat about how we think things are going. We might have a special guest or two on there. So make sure you join in.
One last verse of Old Lang Syne just before kickoff. That's what we're after. So, money where your mouth is time. Score-wise, Tim, we'll start with you. What's your score prediction?
I'm certainly not going to be as bold as I was last week when I predicted a coming out party for the offense. So I'm not going to predict one this week, and I hope it does. And we'll win somewhere in the region of 2013.
Oh,
Oh,
I'll go now. I was going to say 2014. So, so
I was
I'll
saying
yeah.
21-17.
So we all think it's going to be close. I think, yeah, it's like a battle of attrition, isn't it? We need to make sure we can put enough points on the board to make it look good, and at the same time, make sure we can bend but don't break to stop them getting in.
The key part is we win the game. That's all. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's 3-0. We win the game.
I think if it was 3-0, probably the Raymond James faithful might care. I think that, yeah, we were relying on you Bucs fans there to be so loud to try and get behind the team. It's been really good seeing a packed stadium by and large, even though the results maybe haven't been as good as they've been the last 2 years. So it's been really good to see the Bucs fans turning out and giving it their all. You can bet we'll be giving it our all, even though we'll all be hungover. I mean, the last game was Christmas Day night, Boxing Day morning at 1 a.m. It's impressive that the Bucs UK fans tonight. So we'll be there screaming virtually as well. So thank you guys, David and Tim. Thank you guys for watching. We hope you've still got a little bit of cheese left to maybe a glass of port. We'll toast our victory on New Year's Day. And as ever, thank you and go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.